Hi, it's Wasabi. Welcome back to the channel. This is another tank review. This for the Tier 9 French light tank that came out in the loot boxes, in the large boxes for this season. It's called the Char Mle 75. Now, the best interpretation of what the MLE stands for, I think, is mobile or mobile in French, because it is a light tank, which in French is légère. So we assume that relates to the type of tank it is. Now there's some special characteristics of this vehicle, so we'll point these out and talk about them, but we'll show you some gameplay as well, which, while it's a good result for the player, will sort of highlight the strengths and weaknesses of the tank. Alright, so first of all, why is it called the Mobile or the MLE? Because it has a turbo mode. That's the big exhaust you can see coming out of the rear end there. Mobile mode or the speed mode is activated by the X key, which is similar to siege mode on tank destroyers, etc. And what that does is it gives you a boost to the engine power and increases your top speed. It can be used in reverse as well. So standard reverse speed I think is 20 kilometers per hour, which is pretty handy, but it goes up to 30. Excuse me, when you're in the speed mode. Does reduce your traverse, similar to the light wheeled vehicles, but it does have other effects as well. And probably the major one is it reduces your camo quite substantially by about 25%. And we'll have a look at the actual numbers just to show you what that means. It also has an effect on the aiming time. So standard aiming time is 2.43. Well, we have a good crew in at the moment, and you can see the effects of the consumables on that, so it's a bit longer than 2.43 is standard, but that's sort of what you can get it down to. But it goes up to 3.03 when it's in turbo mode or speed mode. They're probably the main effects of the speed mode. So it's just something you need to take into account, particularly the reduction in camo. So use it to get into good positions, but you need to make sure that you otherwise wouldn't be spotted. But again, we'll have a look at the numbers in a second. Now, the other characteristic of this is the gun. So it has what's called a 6-shot autoloader, but it's very unique to this tank in that you actually have 2 clips that get loaded, and the load time between clips is 38.36 seconds, so quite substantial, but that's not uncommon. But the 3 shots for each clip unload in really rapid succession, so you pretty much can only aim them at whatever tank you're originally trying to shoot at and try and keep your gun on track. And it's got a pretty snappy gun traverse as well, so just got to be very careful with the aiming of that. And I think in one sense you'd be lucky to get all 3 shots landing. But it's sort of bang, 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 and we'll see that in game. And then you get a gap of 6 seconds, and then you get to reload. Then you get the second part of the clip, and then you go into the 38-second load for the 2 parts. So effectively, get into good position, preferably flanking mode. Put side shots into your target, and hey presto, you burst 3 shots and then another 3 shots. So what can you do in those 3 shots? Well, here we go. Pretty low alpha, 200 hit points, average damage. An average pen for the standard round, which is AP, is 200, but it doesn't go up a whole lot for the premium round. If we have a look at that, it only goes up to 240. So at Tier 9, that's not substantial, but in terms of side armor and rear armor, which is hopefully what you're getting into position for with the speed mode, it would be sufficient. And you can see a nice shell velocity there for the premium round, which is APCR. So you get up to 1350, whereas it's just over 1,000 meters per second for the standard round. Other things, dispersion. So again, we've got a good crew in here with consumables. That's getting that down to 0.32. So that's reduced it by about 0.02, or 0.04 actually. So we're talking about 0.36 as standard. And you can see there the average DPM, but really what you're looking at is the burst potential. So if you get all 3 shots in, that's 600. And then within 6 seconds, you're doing the next 600, assuming you get them all to pen. So you're really talking about 1,200 potential burst damage in the clip, which is not too bad. In 6 seconds, that's pretty substantial. then basically you want to get the hell out of there while you're reloading. So pretty standard. All right, other useful things. Gun depression is -8 degrees, but also pretty good gun elevation of 15 is handy. There you go, 75 degrees per second gun traverse. That is really snappy. Some people may be able to keep that on track for a moving tank, but I think you're going to find that's pretty hard to do. Other things we can tell you, armor is pretty much non-existent. It's a light tank, so no great surprise there. Let's have a look at the camo effects of the speed mode. And in fact, there's just show you the engine power goes from 900 to 1334 when it's in turbo mode, and top speed goes from 62 to 82, and reverse goes from 20 to 30 as we mentioned earlier. Hull traverse speed also pretty handy, 80. Now that doesn't seem to be affected by going into the speed mode, but I'm pretty sure it does. And the other thing about the switch is it says 1 second there. That's really not the case. 1 second to get into speed mode, 3 seconds to get out of it, and we'll see that in game. Now here we go with the concealment factors. So again, this is with a fully camo skilled crew. We haven't added anything else to it, but 33.39, not bad for actually a medium tank. It's not fantastic for a light tank, but 25 in turbo mode, although that is comparable to some other tier 9 light tanks. So it's not terrible, but it's just something to take into account that you're going to drop substantially. So one thing we've done here with field mods is we've got sort of a city layout with turbo and optics and vents, and then we've got another one for field mode where potentially we should switch optics for Commander's vision system, but we've put low noise in there. You can see that's bumped up the stationary camo to 41 and on the move camo to 33, which is what it was without that. So yeah, you can deal with it, but there's something to take into account. All right, and there we go. Spotting the view range 501, not fantastic, but again, and that's with optics and brothers in arms and food. So you could do slightly better there with binoculars, but that really is not the point for a light tank. So just basically take that as is, or anything above 500 is not to be sneezed at, but again, not the best in terms of light tanks. All right, so that's a bit of a rundown on the characteristics of the tank. Let's go into review of a battle, and we'll take you through some of those strengths and weaknesses as they come out. So I'm not picking the best battle that we can find on this tank, but something that shows it in a sort of a more tricky condition, so not a Prokhorovka map or a Mle. We'll put this into the context of a normal battle. So let's switch to the gameplay, and then we'll give you a summary at the end. Alright, this battle is on the Al Haluf map, and we've got Daddy Pixelfish, who's playing on the EU server. Now, there's only one light tank on each side, but they're the best types. So we'll see how he uses it, and yeah, what the issues are with this. See, okay, you can see from the gold turbine mode in the middle, let's see if it's in speed mode, and then you get the 3 seconds, which is the exit from that particular mode. Alright, now switching back to standard mode. Now you can see it's a white turbine without moving, so that tells you which mode you're in. Alright, so there's the enemy light tank. Now, here we go, he's going to shoot him, I think. 2, 3, there you go, 1, 2, 3. That is how fast the 3-shot clip unloads. We've still got 1 clip left of another 3 shots. Now, this is part of the issue here, and it will affect potentially your loadouts. Oh, it's been pushed on by a T-28 prototype. And there you go, another 3 shots, and manages to clip out the Char Mle 75. Let's just make the minimap a little bit bigger. And he's taking a bit more damage there. Luckily that one went into his tracks. Now I say luckily, because if it hit any part of his armour, it would have gone in. Now you're on long reloads, as we said, about 38-second reload. It's about 40 seconds without the crew skills and consumables. So he knows there's still the Pantera there. In fact, there's the Pantera. He's got his clip back in space 1, 2, 3. Gets away with it. In fact, puts a shot into his tracks, but he doesn't lose any more health. But he's still got one 3-shot clip left. And now he's in a sort of a safe position that the Pantera, if he comes out, is probably going to get attacked, and here he is coming. But he's still got his clip loaded, and so he just backs off, hoping that the Pantera doesn't have a go at him. The Pantera's obviously got bigger problems. He's getting pushed on by Progetto, who gets taken out. And he's decided to go on the reload. Now, as we're talking about the loadout, this player has decided to go for pretty much a full premium loadout, although he has carrying some HE rounds. We didn't actually look at the HE performance, but it's not fantastic. But again, if you come up against artillery or rather light tanks, you can decide to deploy that. Alright, now you can see switch back into speed mode, and again, that's a rapid mode change, but again, you're dealing with the larger aim time here, sorry, remind you, but it doesn't matter. You managed to get rid of the Pantera with 2 of the 3 shots. Now, it's the other thing about the 3-shot clip, you cannot control it. Once you've pressed the button, you get all 3 shots regardless of whether you need them or not. And then he gets slapped again by that T-28 prototype, so it's a bit unfortunate. And he's got a damaged gun as well, but his repair kit is on cooldown. Anyway, so now we'll get back to the strength. So using the turbo mode, even though you've got reduced camo, there's really no one around here to spot him. So when it's safe to travel around the map, you get this high speed up to nearly 80 kilometers per hour or 80 kilometers per hour downhill. But he's doing 71 uphill, which is pretty cool. Certainly into wheeled vehicle sort of speeds. So if you're a good EBR player, you might actually enjoy this tank. But 2 or 3 shots into the 777, and this is what we talk about, the ability to flank. 2-second lot of 3 shots, so he gets his full clip unloaded and time to run away, or at least be in a safe mode. No one seems to be coming after him, but again, luckily no one is overlooking. He's again in this sort of 40-second mode. Now, being in turbo mode doesn't change the reload speed, so it will still take only the time that you need. And just being very careful there. Commander's view showing the T95 up there. He would definitely be one-shottable by the T95. So he decides not to press his luck and go around the corner. And this is basically what you need to do. Pick your moments. So doesn't want to go back up that 122 TM. He'd again be singled out by the Alpine Tiger, who could one-shot him as well. And he's just looking for the angles. Now, I guess the other thing about this tank, it's not a red line sniper with the depression, or not depression, the dispersion that you've got, 0.32. You're going to really waste a lot of these shells, and particularly you can't shoot on the move. But here we go, a Skoda T50 who doesn't seem to be paying attention to where Pixel Fish is pointing, and he gets this full 2-shot clip, or two clip 6 shots out. And so again, in that short space of time, 6 seconds over at the most, you've got that potential 1200. So he's already up to 3k damage, and this is sort of the possibility you can get, but you've got to preserve your health while you're doing this. So your movement around the map is critical. The ability to stay unspotted is critical. If you get spotted, you're going to be shot. And here he is, basically one-shottable to most tanks in the game, and particularly the remaining tanks here. But in that run, as you can see, he's managed to recharge his clip. So this is how you need to manage your time for that. Now, we did notice an UDES crash there, and that's a poor UDES player. Here he's got the rear of a T-28 prototype, so exactly what you need to be doing. He'll get all of his clip in here, makes 3 shots, 2, 3, and bang, takes out that T-28 prototype. Now, I say, just side note here, nothing to do with the tank review. Always satisfying when you can kill a tank that's managed to put quite a few shots into you. Alright, now he again has to be careful. He's not reloaded, doesn't want to get in the way, doesn't want to be spotted necessarily. T95 there, you could get a rear shot in, but potentially one of those tanks could turn around and one-shot him. They've taken out the other two tanks, so he's got to pick his moments and try and figure out which way they're going. So this commander's mode view is pretty useful. That shows you the layout of the tanks, and again, this is the player doing this, not me. I'm just following his particular lead on this. And again, going to speed mode, which you can go into, as I said, pretty rapidly. You just got to deal with the extra dispersion. 1, 2, 3 shots, gets rid of the T50, and he can put some shots into the T28 just to reduce his health. 1, 2, 3. But again, you're seeing average 200, so that T28 is still on over 800 hit points, and he's coming back around looking for Daddy Pixelfish, and so you don't want to be around when he comes back, because again, he'll take you out. Now, you can see this is your other problem you're going to have in matches, is running out of ammo. So he's got one clip left of 6 shots, but they're all HE, so this is what I mean about your choices. Is he going to pen with any of them? Yeah, you might, definitely, from the rear, but not a high chance of that. Let's have a quick look at the penetration of these HE shots. So we're looking at only 53 millimeters of penetration, so this is going to be a problem. You're really just going to, at this stage, with this ammunition loadout remaining, is really just keep these targets spotted. So can he get some damage? Oh yes, managed to get 2 shots in, but you can see doing very small amounts of damage. But anyway, that's the end of the game, and let's go and have a look at the results and show you the economics. Okay, so here we've got the results. He's actually done 4.8k of damage and got 4 kills out of that. Another 1700 of assisted damage there, so that's a pretty handy total of combined damage there, and that's earned him the Ace Tank Mastery badge. We'll have a look at the team scores, see how that worked out. So 14-12 puts him in second place in terms of experience, and the Leopard PTA picking up the highest result there, that he finished with the N. But again, I think the point of this is to show you the strengths and weaknesses. So I think we saw most of that. So have a look at the shots fired, 39. So this is your chance to run out of ammunition, and this is an 8-minute game. So he used all his shots in that game in 8 minutes. If you're playing a 15-minute game, you're going to have to be very careful with your shots that you play. And let's have a look at the credits. You can see massive amounts of credits coming in. This is part of the holiday ops, of course. So personal reserves running, battle payments running from the clan, and mission payouts coming from the holiday ops. So 309,000, and that certainly paid for his premium ammunition that he ran, plus his consumables. So, but he's ended up with a nice profit there of 102,000. Now this is a premium tank, by the way. We didn't really stress that at all. Tier 9 premium tank, just like all the other premium tanks, you can swap your crews in and out without penalty, provided they're trained for that nation and that type of tank, or that class of tank, I should say. So it can be a crew trainer, and it's a 3-man crew, so it's going to line up with your other French light tanks, pretty standard. And then you can see the repair costs. He lost most of the health of his tank, and this is again one of the advantages of the premium tank, is the repair costs are much lower than they are for the equivalent tech tree tank. So it is still possible to make money at this tier with a premium tank, and there you go. But is it a great tank? No, well, this is where we end up, right? It's a bit of a compromised tank. It's got some quite interesting strengths, but some really compromising weaknesses. So the lack of ammunition being carried, the inability to control your 3 shots. I mean, they're going to the target that you shoot at, of course, but you can't put 1 shot into one, get a kill, and then 2 more shots into another tank that you need to damage. So if you're choosing between 2 tanks and you only got 3 shots left, you can only shoot one of them. So you get all these compromises, the lack of camo when you're on the move, in turbo mode, that sort of thing. That's really going to bring it down. So it's going to be playing to a fairly high skill base, I would think. Anyway, it's in the loot boxes. If you're buying large boxes, you've got a chance to get this tank, and along with another few tanks, and we'll be doing reviews on all of those. And have you seen the BZ1? That's an example. But hopefully you'll get something you like if you are purchasing those. Anyway, hopefully you liked the video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing that. We'll have more great content to follow. Thanks very much for watching.